Verse 149. There are the jhana for the examination of meaning, the jhana practised by the ignorant, the jhana with Tathata for its object, and the pure jhana of the Tathagata. Jhana usually means a state of meditative absorption. It's an exercise to do with focusing the mind. But our mind is often focused. It could be focused on a daydream. It could be focused on a television drama. It could be focused on a conversation, or it could be focused on a hobby of some sort. And these different types of focus are summed up here in verse 149. And normally when I see a list like this, I've got a list here of 4 types of jhana. It's very often a progressive thing, moving from the one at the beginning to the goal at the end. But here the translator has put a semicolon right in the middle. And again we should understand this from the perspective of the enlightenment practitioner. The second clause relates to the enlightenment practitioner. The first clause, the first half of this verse, relates to the spiritual seeker. The spiritual seeker is somebody who has what could be called a spiritual, inverted commas, lifestyle. They are somebody who's concerned with doing the right thing and bettering themselves, improving themselves as people. And they'll be doing some reading. They'll be doing some studying. They'll probably study books written by spiritual teachers, especially modern ones. They might try to study the original text, and they'll spend some time focusing on this. So this is the jhana for the examination of meaning. And they will also practice meditation exercises. They might do what's called samatha meditation, meditation aimed at quietening the mind. And they might even have some success in this. This is the jhana practiced by the ignorant. The assumption here is that there's no insight, that they haven't stumbled on and appreciated the true nature of their own awareness, because this is the essential requirement for becoming an enlightenment practitioner. Now, I never feel very comfortable with these demarcations. This first clause could also refer to the enlightenment practitioner who has forgotten, who no longer makes the necessary effort and instead relies on the trappings of enlightenment practice. In other words, the study and the meditation. It's so easy to believe that you're being spiritual, especially if you're in the company of others who subscribe to the same framework, the same context. Whether it's Buddhist, Hindu, Christian or Sufi or anything. So whatever the situation is, we really want to become enlightenment practitioners. This is what's addressed in the second clause. The description of the jhana of the enlightenment practitioner. And before practicing this jhana, there must be a realization that we are no longer in enlightenment practice. And in enlightenment practice, there is no object of meditation. So how can this be? If meditation is about focusing on something, and there isn't anything, and there isn't any something to focus on, how can you do it? What else is there to focus on? Here we're told it's Tathata. We take Tathata for the object. Well, what's Tathata? Tathata is not an object. Although initially we can take it as an object, as a concept, just as a way of reminding ourselves to practice. So Tathata is usually translated as suchness. How can we focus on suchness? Well, there are two approaches that I'm going to suggest here. One is to focus on the focusing itself. The attention has to turn back on itself. Attention's always directed outwards, even if it's onto part of the body, like the breathing, even if it's onto a visualized object. That's outwards. That is directing the attention outwards. It doesn't just mean out onto physical things. It can also mean outwards onto mental objects. That's directing the attention outwards. So examine the attention. Attend to the attention. If you think about this logically, you might consider this as getting caught up in some kind of infinite regress. But actually, don't think about it logically, just do it. And you'll have a sense of something called suchness. I mentioned two approaches to this. There's really only one approach. But when the attention is turned on itself, when there's the realization of suchness, it's what I've often referred to as a sense of being, simply being. This is suchness, simply being. So this is the jhana, with Tathata as its object. What it's doing is turning us to Tathata. And the outcome here is the pure jhana of the Tathagata. The Buddha is often referred to as the Tathagata. The term Tathagata means dwelling in suchness. It means abiding in suchness. And this is the fruit of enlightenment practice. You're not abiding in your backstory. You're not abiding in conventional understanding. You're not getting caught up in the protestations of the logical mind. We're beyond all naming. We're only with that which can be indicated by a term like suchness. or a sense of being. So when we're successfully practicing, we too are Tathagatas, practicing the Dhyana of the Tathagatas.